In the terror and heartbreak that's plaguing victims, tonight one amazing story of survival in the aftermath of a devastating earthquake.
This seizure and these arrests literally stopped, thousands of narcotics deals.
Plus what could be one of the biggest drug busts in one state's history, the amount of marijuana here, and what police say it means for the public. And people who lost their homes in the housing collapse could get a little payback. We'll show you how. Your Independent News Network starts right now. Good evening and welcome to INN News. I'm Mike Mickle. Tonight, a ray of hope in a nation shattered by a devastating earthquake. A 2-week-old baby rescued from the rubble of a building in eastern Turkey. That's after a 7.2 quake rattled the region 2 days ago. But despite that, much of the news is still grim. Alex Marquardt has the latest now from Turkey.
Erciş was the town hardest hit by that earthquake on Sunday. Some 80 buildings collapsed, including this one behind me, which was mostly an apartment building. Rescuers think there's still 20 people buried beneath that rubble. But just an hour ago, we saw rescuers pull out that 2-week-old baby, Azra, after being buried for 47 hours. Babies are remarkably resilient. They've got extra body fat, and some say that they can last for weeks without food. Now the search is underway for Azra's mother and other family members. Rescuers are asking for complete silence every 10 minutes so that they can listen for voices below. And unfortunately, rescue stories like the one that we just saw are few and far between. Most who are being pulled out of the rubble are being pulled out dead, and officials say that search and rescue operations may end as soon as today. People are walking around here crying and looking stunned. If you ask them if they think people will still be found alive, they say, Inshallah, God willing.
Turkish officials say that quake caused more than 260 buildings to collapse. So far, 366 people are confirmed dead and more than 1,300 hurt. The body of former Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi is buried in an unmarked grave. He was buried with one of his sons and a former defense minister. The bodies had been on display for days in cold storage. The graves are near Misrata, but officials are not saying exactly where. Libya's new leaders say the location is secret because they don't want the grave vandalized or turned into a shrine for die-hard loyalists. U.S. diplomats finished 2 days of talks with North Korea aimed at getting nuclear negotiations back on track. Those talks taking place in Geneva, Switzerland. Neither side commented on the outcome, but this is the first negotiation since talks fell apart in July. The U.S. wants North Korea to stop enriching uranium and building long-range missiles. Many parts of the Irish East Coast are trying to deal with the after effects of the extreme flooding. The major emergency plan for the Dublin region has been put in place. Floodwaters are receding, but many areas remain underwater. Thousands of people are counting the cost of the damage to their homes and businesses. To flooding in Thailand now, the U.S. Navy's helping victims there. Ships are bringing in food, water, and medical supplies. This is the worst the country has seen in 50 years. Some officials estimate up to 2/3 of that country is underwater. More than 360 people are dead, and some 2.5 million have been driven from their homes. People in Shanghai, China waited out in the rain for a chance to grab a copy of the new biography of Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. The book had been in the works for years before Jobs died earlier this month. The book reveals insights into the personal life of the famously private man. Jobs' popularity in China is evident from this video. A big discovery off the coast of Kyushu, Japan. Archaeologists find the wreck of a Mongolian ship believed to be headed toward Japan more than 700 years ago. Divers took a good look at the wreckage Monday. Archaeologists say Mongolia's ruler at the time sent the ship as part of an invasion back in 1281. Nasty weather is believed to have sunk that vessel. And that's your Global News Now. Back here in the States, basketball fans will have to wait a bit longer to see their favorite NBA players on the court. The NBA will cancel at least 2 more weeks of its season. That would suspend the league's start date until November 28th. Players and owners are still at odds over revenue. That delay is costing millions of dollars to a variety of businesses connected to the sport. Well, it could be the biggest drug bust in Indiana state history. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced today officers seized more than 5 tons of marijuana and $4.3 million in drug money. That's following a 6-month investigation. Police say the money was on its way to Mexican drug cartels before DEA agents and Indianapolis police intervened. 4 men are now facing federal drug charges.
All that violence that could have come with those narcotics transactions, this seizure and these arrests literally stopped, thousands of narcotics deals, as this quantity of narcotics would have filtered on down into different drugs or different transactions.
Officers estimate more than 10,000 pounds of pot was worth about $5 million. If convicted, the men face a minimum sentence of 10 years in jail and up to a possible life sentence. A former high school teacher is on trial in Ohio, accused of having sex with 5 of her male teenage students. 33-year-old Stacy Schuler was their teacher and football trainer at Mason High School. Some of the boys testified they went to her house after games. They say she hosted late parties with beer, marijuana, and group sex. Her attorneys say that behavior was abnormal. They say that proves Schuler was not guilty by reason of insanity. That trial is still underway. President Obama continues his campaign and policy swing through the West. He kicked off a trip to Las Vegas yesterday. There he announced plans to address America's housing crisis. Today it's on to LA for fundraising with the help of some big-name celebrities. Melissa Rainey has details.
President Obama is reaching out to voters hit hard by the housing crisis. While in Las Vegas Monday, he announced new efforts to help homeowners refinance.
If you meet certain requirements, you will have the chance to refinance at lower rates, which could save you hundreds of dollars a month and thousands of dollars a year on mortgage payments.
Critics don't see the plan as a good solution.
On the actual substance of this program, the economics of this program, I have to say I'm pessimistic. It seems like tinkering around the edges. The core problem in housing is that we have people in homes that they cannot afford. That's not about their interest rate, that's about their principal.
Obama is now in LA for some star-studded fundraisers. He's expected to raise more than $4 million over the 3-day trip west with the help of celebs like Will Smith, Eva Longoria, and Melanie Griffith. He'll also make an appearance on The Tonight Show, his first since 2009. I'm Melissa Rainey reporting.
The president's trip also includes a fundraiser in San Francisco and a visit to Denver to talk jobs. Republicans, meanwhile, say they will consider the president's housing proposal, but while House Speaker John Boehner didn't say he'd kill it, he was skeptical of how effective it would be.
I think that we'll be taking a look at it. Listen, we're all concerned about the mortgage problems and the state of housing in America. The administration's tried 3 or 4 different plans over the last couple of years. Frankly, none of them have worked.
Meanwhile, presidential hopeful Rick Perry unveils his tax reform plan. The main point, well, it scraps the current progressive income tax system. In its place, a flat income tax of 20%. It also calls for balancing the budget by 2020, reforming entitlements, and capping federal spending at 18% of GDP. However, it retains a number of tax exemptions for families.
Central to my plan is giving every American the option of throwing out that 3 million words of the current tax code, and I might add the cost of complying with all of that code, in order to pay a 20% flat tax on their income.
Perry dubbed his plan Cut, Balance, and Grow. Well, there's still more to come. They are cute and furry. They're also helping many people with disabilities lead more fulfilling lives. We'll show you how. Plus several cups of coffee and a common skin cancer. How one could be related to the other later in health. That and more on INN News. And we want to remind you INN is on Facebook. Now you can also find us on Twitter at INN News Network. And we're on YouTube. All this to reach out to you so you can reach out to us. INN News is coming right back.